Please share this fast before they take this one down. May 27th is when the WHO treaty that we signed takes effect. Biden signed it, but not the Senate. But this means the UN can come into any country and take people from their homes in the case of a virus or a strain. Generation X are now posting videos about standing up to the government. This is all by design. Nothing is natural or a coincidence. Rumors are that many of the immigrants who crossed our borders are UN soldiers, and the cache of crates all around the United States have their equipment inside of it. The war drums are beating, my friends. Wing Inflatables, a consumer and military manufacturer of dinghy boats, have just received orders from the military to double. They don't have the equipment to do it. Ukraine and Israel are the powder kegs set to go off and give the world an excuse for world war. Ukraine has been a front for the military-industrial complex to purchase weapons and munitions to all American manufacturing, as Congress has enabled the spending. We give them all our old stuff. We purchase new stuff through giving the money to Ukraine. Code effectively pushed the world into recession to give it no choice but to go to war. Russia defaulted on part of its foreign currency-denominated debt on June 27, 2022, because the money was stuck in Euroclear, its first such default since 1918. The payments in dollars was missed due to the U.S. sanctions. Not including Russia has pulled all their diplomatic persons out of America right after that happened. What we are witnessing is a forced war by the West. This year, politicians worldwide in the West are stalling by creating fires here and there to distract the public from a coming massacre. The Pentagon asked for $2 trillion from Congress for a war with China, and Biden's presidency has spent more money ever in history, placing our national debt at $35 trillion, and our economy is only set to make $28 trillion this year. That's $7 trillion over what we make every year in debt. Trump left office at $1 trillion over the fiscal cliff, the exact same number Obama left us with. But Biden went crazy. We know the West wants war with Iran. The reasoning is Russia controls the northern part of Iran, which gives them control over oil and Iran partners. The Mossad, with the help of the CIA, were able to gain a foothold in the south of Iran, but it's not strong enough to take power over Russia's oil interests. Agenda 2030 was the West's idea to stop oil production altogether. China and Russia had been profiting off of oil and gaining momentum with their BRICS central bank, backed by gold. No oil, no gold. The Federal Reserve used to be backed by gold until Nixon turned it into fiat. Cleverly, after Nixon removed the gold standard, the CIA made a deal with Saudi Arabia to accept all dollars for all crude. This gave the West dominance as the fiat was backed by oil. As long as Saudi Arabia used the Federal Reserve note to trade, the West controlled almost all of the world. And if no one accepted the dollar, the U.S. military would start flexing. This worked really well for 60 years until Saudi Arabia decided to start taking the yuan, or won. A full ride of power and glory as the U.S. policed the world under the guise of democracy. They went to war without approval of Congress or Senate all throughout the Middle East to gain control over oil production. After global cooling tanked and global warming failed, the West came up with climate change, a final phrase that no one could argue. And the idea is being used to bankrupt the East to stop BRICS central bank. Crude is used more than you guys think. It's in everything you wear and use. It's in 95% of all pharmaceuticals. Crude oil control is still valuable and worth going to war over. Power and wealth has been slowly shifting its way to the East, however. The two financial systems, the Federal Reserve and BRICS, are at war with each other, and the Federal Reserve Central Bank doesn't want a competitor. Or at least that's what they want you to believe, as all of this is staged. The term BRICS, which means Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, was almost trademarked by Goldman Sachs right after 9/11. The financial firm saw the East coming and wrote a paper called Dreaming of BRICS, The Path to 2050, written back in 2003. This report created a shift in finance, opportunities that China could become a manufacturing leader with lower costs. This is when big tech moved to China. The West, under the control of the Orsini family, whose leader is the Grey Pope named Pepe Domenico Napoleon Orsini, has controlled all central banks of Europe and America for the last 500 years. Their rival, Henry Breakspear, set up camp in China to build their fortunes back since the Orsinis took power from them during the Spanish Inquisition. Obama was a Breakspear plant. The military came close to a coup to remove him until Trump agreed to run in order to salvage the Federal Reserve. The military made sure he won over Hillary by cheating, because she would have continued dismantling the military-industrial complex and take us to war with China. Trump is the Orsini's last chance to restore the Federal Reserve scam before the Breakspears or their BRICS central bank gain more momentum. Both sides are bankrupt and waiting for one or the other to light the candle for World War III. Israel is committing genocide to push the Breakspears, and if they won't bite, will continue to kill millions until they open up a competitor canal located in Gaza called the Ben Gurion Canal, which will be bigger than the Suez since the Suez is controlled now by Egypt and BRICS, forcing the West to go around Africa. Meanwhile, the Breakspears, Manchurian candidates like Biden, have been opening up all of the borders to kill westernized traditions with foreign influence, including Islam. The goal there is to eradicate Christianity, which is led by the Vatican, whom recently called in all of their loans. The Vatican is weak enough for the East to actually move in. The war drums between the Welfs and Ghibellines are beating, and underneath the big picture is a war between Islam and Christianity. And while they battle that out, Israel will take control of the Temple Mount and build their Kabbalist temple of sacrifice for Baal and Molech, the ancient gods of the Canaanites, Sumerians, Egyptians, and now the fake Jews from Khazar. These gods require blood sacrifice, and most of the corporations that control our food and water and drugs stand with the Council on Foreign Relations of the West for the big depopulation agenda. Going back to the Georgia Guidestones that were destroyed by the elite because the people were waking up to their agenda of maintaining humanity at 500 million people. I just hope it's not too late. History repeats, as the United States is in the exact same position as pre-World War I Germany. They owe more to the central banks than they can pay back. The central banks are all Jesuit-owned, and since the Vatican is broke, so is the West. The central banker Khazars will have to go to war with the East because they are tapped out. Trump, who claims he is a wartime president, will be the one who signs the declarations of war, as he will have 90 million Americans blindly following him to save the Orsini family. While we are at war, the United Nations will be rounding up anti-vaxxers for education camps that have been strategically placed in 10 regions all around the United States with help of the Department of the Homeland Security. During times of war, these roundups will be secluded enough, bypassing any knowledge of it actually happening, just like they did in Germany. Everything is in place. The world leaders are ready, and they're waiting. So many people are relying on Q and the White Hats, whom formed to take out this monstrosity at the head. However, if this is a movie, why are hundreds of thousands of Palestinians dying at the hands of Israel? You see, I can't eat popcorn and enjoy that. We've been sold out. Q and the White Hats is all bullshit. You better prepare for 48 years of no food and water. Oh, and why are goods so cheap on TikTok? China is loading everything, right before war. Get ready.